Learning objectives. At the end of this topic, you will be able to explain the types of chemical reactions, distinguish between oxidation and reduction, analyze the effect of oxidation and reduction in everyday life. Introduction. Meena, you're thinking deeply. May I know the issue that's bothering you?
Yes, I understood about a chemical equation. But in some reactions, I have observed that two or more substances combine to form a new substance, whereas in some reactions, one substance splits itself into new substances.
These are different types of chemical reactions. Let me tell you more about them. We have learned that during a chemical reaction, atom of one element does not change into those of another element, nor do atoms disappear from the mixture or appear from elsewhere. Actually, chemical reactions involve the breaking and making of bonds between atoms to produce new substances. There are basically 5 types of chemical reactions. They are combination reaction, decomposition reaction, displacement reaction, double displacement reaction, and oxidation and reduction. Let me explain about combination reaction. A combination reaction may be defined as a chemical reaction in which two or more substances combine to form a single substance under suitable conditions. Combination reactions are also known as synthesis because in these reactions, new substances are synthesized. In this example, calcium reacts with sulfur to form calcium sulfide. Let me explain to you more about the combination reaction with the help of an activity. Take a small amount of calcium oxide or quicklime in a beaker. Slowly add water to this beaker. We can observe that temperature in the beaker has changed. In this reaction, calcium oxide and water combine to form a single product, calcium hydroxide. Let's discuss some more examples of combination reactions. Example 1. Burning of coal, that is, carbon reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Example 2. Formation of water from H2 and O2, that is, H2 reacts with O2 to form H2O. In the previous activity, we've observed that a large amount of heat is evolved. This makes the reaction mixture warm. Reactions in which heat is released along with the formation of products are called exothermic chemical reactions. An excellent example of this reaction is burning of natural gas, that is, CH4 reacts with 2 atoms of O2 to form CO2 and 2 atoms of H2O. Do you know that respiration is an exothermic process? Let me explain to you about the human respiration process. We get energy from the food we eat. During digestion, food is broken down into simpler substances. For example, rice, potatoes, and bread contain carbohydrates. These carbohydrates are broken down to form glucose. This glucose combines with oxygen in the cells of our body and provides energy. The decomposition of vegetable matter into compost is also another example of exothermic reaction. So Meena, let me explain to you about decomposition reaction. It's a type of chemical reaction in which a single compound splits into 2 or more simple substances under suitable conditions. It's just the opposite of the combination reaction. Example, carbonic acid yields water and carbon dioxide. Let's perform an activity to understand the process of decomposition reaction. Firstly, take about 2 grams of ferrous sulfate crystals in a dry boiling tube. Then heat the boiling tube over the flame of a burner or a spirit lamp. What do you observe? We can notice that the color of the crystals after heating has changed. Have you noticed that the green color of the ferrous sulfate crystals has changed? You can also smell the characteristic odor of burning sulfur. This is due to the fact that ferrous sulfate crystals FeSO4, 7H2O, lose water when heated and the color of the crystals changes. It then decomposes to ferric oxide, Fe2O3, sulfur dioxide, SO2, and sulfur trioxide, SO3. Ferric oxide is a solid, while SO2 and SO3 are gases. Thermal decomposition of calcium carbonate to calcium oxide and carbon dioxide on heating is an important decomposition reaction used in various industries. Let's move on to displacement reaction. Displacement reaction is a chemical reaction in which a more reactive element displaces a less reactive element from its compound. Let's perform a small activity to know about the displacement reaction. Firstly, take 3 iron nails and clean them by rubbing them with a sandpaper. Later, take 2 test tubes marked A and B. In each test tube, take about 10 ml of copper sulfate solution. Tie the 2 iron nails with a thread and immerse them carefully in the copper sulfate solution in test tube B for about 20 minutes. Keep 1 iron nail aside for comparison. After 20 minutes, take out the iron nails from the copper sulfate solution. Now compare the intensity of the blue color of copper sulfate solutions in test tubes A and B. Also compare the color of the iron nails dipped in the copper sulfate solution with the one kept aside. Why does the iron nail become brownish in color and the blue color of copper sulfate solution fade? Let me explain to you about this reaction. In this reaction, iron has displaced or removed another element, copper, from the copper sulfate solution. After knowing about single displacement reaction, let me tell you about the double displacement reaction. A double displacement reaction is a type of chemical reaction in which one component, each of both the reacting molecules, is exchanged to form the products. Let's perform a small experiment to know about double displacement reaction. Take about 3 ml of sodium sulfate solution in a test tube. In another test tube, take about 3 ml of barium chloride solution and mix the 2 solutions. What do you observe? You will observe that a white substance which is insoluble in water is formed. This insoluble substance formed is known as a precipitate. Any reaction that produces a precipitate can be called a precipitation reaction. The white precipitate of BaSO4 is formed by the reaction of 2 negative SO4 and Ba2+. The other product formed is sodium chloride, which remains in the solution. Let's move to oxidation and reduction. The addition of oxygen or non-metallic element or removal of hydrogen or metallic element from a compound is known as oxidation, whereas addition of hydrogen or metallic element or removal of oxygen or non-metallic element from a compound is called reduction. Let's perform an activity to understand the phenomenon of oxidation. Heat a china dish containing about 1 gram of copper powder. The surface of copper powder becomes coated with black copper 2 oxide. Why is the black substance formed? This is because oxygen is added to copper and copper oxide is formed. If hydrogen gas is passed over this heated material, CuO, the black coating on the surface turns brown as the reverse reaction takes place and copper is obtained. During this reaction, the copper 2 oxide loses oxygen and is reduced. The hydrogen is gaining oxygen and is being oxidized. In other words, one reactant gets oxidized while the other gets reduced during a reaction. Such reactions are called oxidation-reduction reactions or redox reactions. In equation 1.31, carbon is oxidized to CO and ZNO is reduced to Zn. And equation 1.32, HCl is oxidized to Cl2, whereas MnO2 is reduced to MnCl2. Corrosion. You've observed that iron particles are shiny when new but get coated with a reddish-brown powder when left for some time. This process is commonly known as a rusting of the iron or redox reactions. Have you noticed the color of the coating formed on the copper and silver? When a metal is attacked by substances around it, such as moisture, acids, etc., it is said to corrode, and this process is known as corrosion. The black coating on silver and the green coating on copper are other examples of corrosion. Corrosion causes damage to car bodies, bridges, iron railings, ships, and to all objects made of metals, especially those of iron. Rancidity. Have you ever tasted or smelt the fat or oil containing food materials left for a long time? When fats and oils are oxidized, they become rancid and their smell and taste changes. Usually, substances which prevent oxidation, antioxidants, are added to foods containing fats and oil. Keeping food in airtight containers helps to slow down oxidation. Let's summarize the topic. Today, we have learned chemical reactions involve the breaking and making of bonds between atoms to produce new substances. There are basically 5 types of chemical reactions. They are combination reaction, decomposition reaction, displacement reaction, double displacement reaction, oxidation and reduction. When a metal is attacked by substances around it, such as moisture, acids, etc., it is said to corrode, and this process is called corrosion. Keeping food in airtight containers helps to slow down oxidation.